Mike Rowe here with a few thoughts on my favorite sweatshirt. A classic zip-up hoodie that used to be navy blue but has since faded to what the fashionistas call a distressed indigo. It's 13 years old, soft as a flannel bathrobe, and after a few hundred dirty jobs, demonstrably and undeniably indestructible. This is the kind of sweatshirt girlfriends like to permanently borrow. But I've held on to this one because I got it from American Giant. American Giant makes all their stuff right here in the USA so they can control every link in their own supply chain. That matters because when you buy American Giant, you not only get great quality, you create jobs for people in factory towns all over the country. No pressure, but if you give a damn about the business of making things in America, you got to support the companies who are doing it right. Go to american-giant.com/Mike to get 20% off your first order. That's american-giant.com/Mike.
Catch the Tech Branch with Marlo Anderson
and Steve Bucket
on Super Talk 1270, Saturday afternoons 1 till 4 on Super Talk 1270.
It's time for Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
Good morning, my friends. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270 on a very chilly Friday morning. That wind is nasty. It's going to be windier later on today and through the weekend as well, but a little light at the end of the tunnel as we get into Sunday and Monday as temperatures start warming up finally and actually above freezing in the forecast. So looking forward to that. It is Friday, and I look forward to one thing, of course, Super Talk 1270, the home of the Bismarck Bobcats, and Tom Briggle, the owner of the Bobcats, joining us on the program right now. Tom, going to be a good weekend. We've got Austin coming to town, and you guys have been battling back and forth playing Austin quite. It seems like they've been on the schedule a lot lately.
Yeah, well, we played them in their barn a few weeks ago, and you might remember that's the Friday night that went to a 30-man shootout.
Crazy shootout.
We kind of kicked their butts on Saturday, but so they're going to come up with a little bit of fire in their belly because we really outplayed them that weekend, and so it'll be interesting. And Austin is almost my favorite team to play because their style of play and our style of play, they're similar, and it's just good hockey. So they're kind of my favorite team from a hockey standpoint.
One of the things, they showed up last night, and that team's look softly young. I was there for the Century Mandan hockey game at the VFW last night, and Austin rolled in, and they were watching the game. And you and I were talking off the air a little bit. There was a controversial first goal for Century last night. A goal judge didn't turn the light on. The refs never asked, but they gave the goal to Century for a 1-0 lead, and I'm sitting right there next to the goal judge. I'm watching. It just didn't cross the line. Okay. And the refs later were like, yeah, we made a mistake. One of the things you've got in the NAHL now is instant replay for taking a look at goals and things like that. Change the game a little bit.
Yeah, it does. We've been really wanting to do it for several years. It's not an inexpensive endeavor, but really at the end of the day, the refs are young and they will make mistakes. Sounds like maybe one was made, but at the end of the day, if you can have instant replay, you got to get the goals right. Like you can screw up on calls and that kind of thing. But we've just decided the goals have to be right because you look at our division in particular, I mean, it always gets decided by 1 or 2 games, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just important to get the goals right so that it goes right. So this year if fans look at, in the sky in the VFW, they'll see some cameras above the goal lines. And then we have iPads. It's all wireless, and they get a chance, they being the refs, to review for goals. And there's an opportunity for a coach to challenge once a game to decide if they want to have a goal looked at. And, what it does is it takes the stress out of the game. It's stressful for the coaches. It's stressful for the players. It's honestly stressful for the refs. I mean, they want to get it right. So it's just taken that whole aspect of the game and, made it more, not perfect, but more like the NHL where, you get a chance to look at the goals. And
a lot at stake, and it's about getting it right. Not that's the most important thing. Just take a few minutes, get it right.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt about it. And it's been great this year across our whole league. People have just loved having it.
Well, we've got Austin in town this weekend, and of course, home rink advantage. There's none other in the NAHL like the Bobcats have here at the VFW Arena in Bismarck. And, of course, part of it is the show. Brad does a great job of putting the pieces together, the entertainment stuff. And, of course, you guys always run some great specials for the games.
Yeah, the entertainment's been good. So tonight, the crowd's been great. We're almost sell out every night. I think we only have about 100 tickets tonight, maybe a few hundred for tomorrow. But tonight, for example, Marathon Oil's coming. They got 350 folks. And so they'll be putting away some of Holly's pulled pork, and then we'll go out and raise a little hell. So it's been really good that way, and the fans have been great. You say that, our fans are the best, and I talked about it, so cliche, but honestly, our venue and our show and our fan base is just, it's unbelievable, really. It's remarkable, and we're really appreciative. But so tonight, when you talk about fans, so tonight Taco Del Mar is a big sponsor, and they're going to be giving out 1,200 rally towels. And so hopefully fans will get up there, the first 1,200 get a rally towel, and hopefully they get a chance to wave that baby. So it's very cool. It looks like a jersey. And, Brad designed it along with Pat Engelhardt down there at the Taco Del Mar, and it's just, they're really crazy and really nice. So get up there to the game and get yourself a rally towel, and then be sure to wave it. You bet.
Wear that. Bring your cowbell. Life's good. Leave the boo-boo at home. Not a fan of those. But a lot of great specials. You guys have been selling out a lot of games. So
more horn.
No. More cowbell. So one of the tickets, of course, if you need to know about the Bobcats, BismarckBobcats.com if you need to get tickets. Also, a great way to kind of get in a lot of different special things is download the Bobcat app. Tom, where are you at on tickets this weekend?
Like I said, tonight, I think there's about 100 tickets left, and then we have a couple hundred standing room. We don't go, over the fire marshal thing, but people line the stands and stuff. It's a great time. And then tomorrow, I think we have about 300 left, but it'll be a sellout. It'll be a sellout by game time. So if you want to get tickets, go ahead and get them. And, oh, by the way, if you want to bring out a group, call Brad up at the office, and you want to bring out a company or a group, it's really a great time. People are really having fun, I think.
Well, and you guys got the party rooms, too, so you can put together some really group experiences, whether it's a bonding issue or somebody's having a birthday party or an anniversary. Great way to do a little celebrations with the Bobcats, have a little pizza party, and have a good time.
Absolutely. A lot of birthday parties, Scratch birthday parties. So Scratch comes along, and all kinds of pictures and Dairy Queen cakes and a lot of the lawns involved. I mean, it's a really good party that we throw for sure.
Austin in town tonight. Yeah. You can catch all the action right here on Super Talk 1270. Get to the arena. Bring your radio with you because you can hear the play-by-play, which is a great way to watch the game. But it probably will sell out tonight, so get your tickets, BismarckBobcats.com. Tom, best of luck tonight.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the weekend. We'll see you soon.
All right, Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town, Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bagan. Of course, we are the home of the Bismarck Bobcats. It's going to be a great series this weekend with Austin. You can catch all the action right here on Super Talk 1270. Joining me in the studio right now, Jenna Gullo, United Way, MSA United Way. And Jenna, this cold snap, you guys have been a little strapped with the homeless shelter, haven't you?
Well, it's just been so sad. I mean, just so sad because there's nowhere else for people to go. And so many places do close when it's icy or snowy, which wasn't necessarily the case this last cold spell. But we were asked to take in people beyond who we normally serve because we're a substance-free shelter. So we have a lot of people who are in recovery at our shelter. We have a lot of families, a lot of children. And so people who we serve, it's about 100, usually around 100 homeless people at night. It's substance free. And so we were asked to also take in people under the influence, people actively using drugs and alcohol. And we said yes, because there was literally nowhere else to go and they'd die.
Well, I know you guys have, what your capacity is, but you also have, and it's been remarkable to watch, where you make room for people, because it seems like you have the ability when things are really pressed, things are really stressed, you have the ability to go over the capacity in a safe manner. That's got to be a nightmare for you guys and for staff that are working, but you make it work somehow.
Well, thank you for saying that. There's no other option. I mean, we're not going to let people die outside in the cold. They can't even walk to get food. And so it turns into not just needing a safe place to be, but also needing food and, everything that you need to take care of yourself. So Minister on the Margins bust people over to us during the daytime because they are usually open 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and I think they extended their hours to 8 a.m. So 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. or I'm not clear on if they opened up maybe 8 p.m. but then they bust their folks over to us, and so we just accepted absolutely everyone. We tried to still protect people in recovery because it's so hard. You have someone actively using meth or intoxicated. You can't have them sitting right next to a family who's homeless and near those children. You can't have them sitting...
Or somebody who's trying to go through recovery.
Someone on methadone who just had a relapse who's back staying with us. It's very, very complicated and very, very sad because we want to help everybody. And so we're doing what we can. So during the cold spell, which would continue on today, it's still pretty cold out. We're just filling that need
Light
for the city.
End of the tunnel, Sunday into Monday. So
I hope so. Dear Lord.
So, hey, a little positive. You guys have your luncheon coming up.
We do.
That is around the corner. So more of a positive note, of a year in review opportunity.
Right. And people can learn what some community needs are. We celebrate people and agencies who are filling many of those needs, and also many businesses and donors. It's an opportunity for everyone to just come together and celebrate all the good things happening in our community.
Well, it's the United Way Luncheon, but it's really that opportunity to celebrate all of your partners, everybody that you work with, all of the nonprofits that do so much work within the community.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's March 21st. Tickets are only $20, and businesses or individuals can sponsor a table for $350, or they can be an event sponsor for $500. So people can go online or give us a call.
And as far as getting tickets or sponsoring a table, how do they do that?
Yeah, give us a call, 255-3601, or you can just go and get tickets online at msaunitedway.org. It's really quick. It's 11:30 to 1 p.m. We have Miss North Dakota, Sydney Helgeson, is going to be emceeing our luncheon, so that's exciting. And we just have a lot of really good people in the community that we want to celebrate and lift up, and recognize a lot of businesses who help us out every year.
One other thing, Giving Hearts Day is coming up, and that's, of course, a big fundraiser for MSA United Way and all of your partners.
Yes, so it's February 8th. People can give online through Giving Hearts Day. We're specifically focusing on our efforts to raise money for hunger and homelessness in our community, since we focus the majority of our campaign on our nonprofit partners and trying to support them.
And if somebody wants to give to MSA United Way for Giving Hearts Day to help support some of your partners, how do they do that?
They go on the Giving Hearts Day website, or they can let us know, or we're actually looking for a match opportunity. And so, which
is the best way to give.
Right. Because then you can double your dollars, and you can incentivize other people to double your dollars.
It's that challenge part there. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give, and I challenge the rest of the office to do the same.
Yeah, and we do it a little differently. We only say it's a match if it's new money. We don't count. We don't go, hey, Steve, you donate to us every year. Can we use your match? We don't do it that way, because we want it to truly be a matching opportunity. So we're going to get $5 extra. If you want to sponsor a backpack for $5, you're going to actually be sponsoring 2 backpacks because of that match. It's new money.
Once again, the website for all things United Way?
msaunitedway.org.
This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Without apology, The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Black along with Jason Spees from the Crude Life. You can catch a Crude Life Sunday mornings 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. And Jason, I wanted to drag you into this a little bit because we're talking about some North Dakota stuff and some of the things at play. Charles Tuttle joining us on the program as well. And, I watched, Charles, we're going to talk about schools here right now, but I watched an article on the news last night, a little news piece about this wonderful program that the state is getting involved with. And Governor Burgum gave $1.5 million to this program to give bikes to the schools, to the elementary schools, so kids to learn how to ride bikes. And I watched somebody from the state come on and go, this is such a wonderful opportunity with the state being able to provide these bikes for kids that don't have this opportunity because we need to teach them. Whoa, wait a minute. There's a line where the state should not cross of educating kids. Because, and it sounds like a wonderful program. If somebody wants to fundraise and do this privately without my tax dollars, I'm all in. I'll donate. I'm good with this. It's a great program. But when somebody from the state says it's our job to make sure that these kids know how to ride a bike because they don't have these opportunities at home, there's something that's triggered in me about infringing on parenting. Maybe a parent doesn't want their child to ride a bike. Maybe they live on a busy street. They think it's dangerous. Who knows? But that falls under the purvey of the government taking over parenting to me. It just triggered something in me. And then I got into a discussion with my wife, who's an educator, and she's like, what? That's a great program. I'm like, yeah, on the surface it is, but look what also it's doing. It's spending my tax dollars in some place that if I were a parent, I may or may not deem fit for my tax dollars to be spent at, but it's also growing government. Can we stop doing that in the state? And the reason I bring this up is because we're going to talk a little bit about education right now and what's going on up in Williams County.
Well, hey, let's look at that a little deeper, Steve, and how government wants to separate parents from the kids, and you want the kids in a communist state to worship the government, not their parents.
In a conservative state like North Dakota, little things like that are insidious.
Yes, and it's going on. In fact, I'm being told in a lot of these schools, the kids are being asked daily if they feel safe at home with their parents, if their parents have weapons or how many weapons, and there's all these kinds of questionnaires they're being given. And you remember, Bill Gates has $6 billion in Common Core. Now, we call it North Dakota Standards, but, all of that is part of this globalization where they have CNN2. They're not, and our kids' proficiency scores are in the tank. Kirsten actually told some legislators that we have schools with zero proficiency. So they don't have math. They don't have reading, writing skills. We're taking all that away from them and giving them this indoctrination of gender confusion.
But they might have a bike now.
Theory.
But now they might have a bike. So it's okay, right?
Yeah, they got yeah. Then they'll really love the government. Hitler gave a lot of his people cruisers on the Mediterranean in Italy. I've read letters of people praising the Fuhrer for these cruises that he had given them. Yeah, you give them a loaf of bread in Rome, right? Yeah. It's history repeating itself.
So Charles, coming back to what's going on in Williams County, fill us in on where you see things going right now.
Well, we had a young lady who went to the authorities to present a whole booklet of violations of law. And the question is, it's like every murder mystery, who done it? we got all this money missing. $135 million was charged on credit card charges not approved by the board. $375 million in question. $6.2 million loan from the city or to the city for 6.2 acres that was never on the books, never approved by the city council. The mayor did this on a handshake. So, the citizens there went to the sheriff and said, hey, we want this prosecuted. We want to find who done it, what's going on here. We were never told these disclosures when we had a vote to merge the two districts. It's just unbelievable. And guess what? I've had conversations with the sheriff. I've had him on my Facebook. You can listen to him. The detective never interviewed one person. But we closed the case. There was no criminality. Sounds like the Jason Doctor thing. No criminality. Then the sheriff talked to the sheriff. Oh, we had a criminal investigation. Then halfway through the conversation, oh, we didn't have a criminal investigation. We just had a criminal complaint. And it's like, well, there really isn't anything to do. And then we've got emails from DPI. I had a conversation with Dale Wetzel, and DPI's person told the sheriff. Now remember, the detective who's supposed to be investigating this is calling DPI, asking them, what should we do? And DPI says to them, oh, just tell them to get a lawyer and stop bothering you. That's an email we have.
Wow, that's your government set up to serve the public, right?
Yep, they're all working together to hide this thing or whatever it is. And I said to the detective, look, the first day that the new superintendent arrived, the business manager who handles all the money walked out. Did you question her? Well, no. Really? Wouldn't that be the first person you'd question? Well, we didn't question anybody. Oh, yeah, you can listen to all these conversations on my Facebook. It's unbelievable.
Wow. And Jason, when you start, you and I have this conversation, Jason, all the time about what the role of government is right now. And we're seeing that metamorphosis. Like I said, we're seeing in a conservative state like North Dakota, the government getting influence over your kids. And it's glaring in a state like California that they want to educate your kids. They want to indoctrinate your kids. They want to take parenting out of the equation. They think that they have more rights than parents do. But when you're looking at things like this taking place, we're starting to see some cracks in the education system in North Dakota that may have been there for a while, but they're really starting to get glaring. Is it a case of being emboldened? Because, Jason, we see this across the state with other state agencies. There's an emboldening that's taking place, isn't there?
There's something happening because, I'm down south here doing some work down here, and in 3 different states that I've gone into, they actually have like signs, like boulevard signs, like the Girl Scout cookie sale signs, that they're looking for teachers. That's how bad the teacher shortage is in some of the southern states here that I've seen, to where they're advertising. And I'm like asking people, like, don't you need a degree to be a teacher? They're just advertising this thing like it's a yard sale. Like anybody that drives by, oh, good, look, they're hiring teachers. But that's how bad off the teachers are right now. And when you take a look at why this is, it's a variety of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is leadership. It's the government leadership, because if you ask 90% of the teachers, if you ask teachers why they're leaving or why they've left, the 90% that I've talked to, at the end of the day, they go into teaching wanting to help children. They want to empower children. They want to take a child's fresh idea and let them expand it instead of sequestering it. And what they end up doing is being a middle person between the parents and the administrators. So the teachers are so afraid, are so tired, are so beaten down by the parents and the administrators that the children's are the ones being left behind. Because remember, we used to have the Head Start program, and then we had the No Children Left Behind. Well, guess what? Somebody got screwed, Steve.
Absolutely. Charles, part of the problem from the teachers I've talked to is if you take a look at a big picture, teachers don't get to teach anymore. Teachers get signed up to teach. They go into education because they had a great experience and they want to give back to the kids. They want to be around the kids and the youth, and quite often in small towns in North Dakota, especially, you want to stay in the community. It's a great place to have a great career. You take a look at the financial side of stuff, because I remember when teachers were starting out at $26,500 back when I was in college, and didn't work. Now you can actually make a pretty good living as a teacher. It's not just a hey, I'm going to go teach because my spouse is running the farm operation or the ag operation, and that's a great supplement to trying to keep the farm or the ranch afloat. Is what it basically was back in the 80s. But now it's a great career opportunity. But people go into it, Charles, wanting to help kids, but teachers don't get to teach anymore. They're babysitters. They're go-betweens, like Jason said.
Well, and who's running our schools? It's not the school boards anymore. It's the superintendents who are run by the union and the ND-CEL. And they have if you look at Century Code 15.1, which pertains to education in North Dakota, over half of it violates our Constitution. Our Constitution requires that we give a high degree of intelligence, patriotism, integrity, and morality. It says it right in there in education. They're not doing any of that stuff. I'm just looking right now. I posted something that someone sent me, SB 2231, going woke and forcing teachers to use transgender pronouns. And it's got all the senators, Judy Lee, Karen Kressbaum, Christian Roars, all of these that voted to push this. And you got the Speaker of the House, you got Dennis Johnson, Craig Hedlund, you got Mike Nacy, obviously, the same Shannon Roars Jones, Schreiber Beck, all of these people, Brandy Pyle, Emily O'Brien, John Nelson. These are all Democrats that pretended to be Republicans and have destroyed our educational system through legislation. And they're refusing to fund schools constitutional. The Constitution says that the Legislative Assembly shall provide for a uniform system of free public schools. And it says in Article 10, in public finance and debt, that you can't use property tax to fund schools, yet they're doing it.
It goes back to the usual suspects. We're up against a break right now. We're talking with Charles Tuttle concerning some educational issues taking place and what's going on up in Williams County. There's some fallout for that taking place. Also, Jason Spees with us this morning from the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken on a finally Friday. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish, a wrap-up of last season and the seasons that have wound up and what the opportunities are coming forward for the next year and the outdoors here in North Dakota. We're talking with Charles Tuttle right now, also Jason Spees from the Crude Life. You can catch Crude Life Sunday mornings 10 a.m. right here on Super Talk 1270. Charles, transitioning a little bit because a lot going on in politics. Of course, Governor Burgum, former candidate for the Republican nomination for president, but now he's endorsing Trump. And some of this comes back to we've got our convention and our Republican convention coming up right around the corner. You're privy to some interesting things that are going to take place during the Republican convention. And Burgum's right at the forefront of all this. Now, you got to remember, Burgum's the one that showed up at the convention in 2016 and said, hey, everybody here, screw you, but vote for me at the primary. So he's one of the ones
that got less than 2% of the vote.
Yeah, he wasn't in the convention. He said, hey, vote for that guy because I can beat him at the primary. So I don't even think the convention should have let him speak at that event. But he thumbed his nose at the convention and now is trying to come back to the convention. But there's some technology involved here that is rather interesting. Break that story for us.
Well, yeah, what they're trying to do is they're trying to have machines. They're going to pay $35,000 to have handheld machines to vote at the convention with maybe 1,000 people. And the technology, evidently, Arthur Ventures has some stake in it, and they're trying to, it's silly. It's silly. They're having a fight over whether we're going to use machines or kids that we all have always had, young people that had pages, but now they want to replace those because we have to have an expedient election. And it's like, wait a minute, you took 2.5 hours lunch break so John Hogan could, ship in 187 delegates that were illegal at the last convention, and they did it the convention before that. So it's something nefarious about these machines, and we just got to stop this nonsense of letting people like Burgum, he's taking over all government with Microsoft and his technology, and he's a dictator. He's violating the Constitution every way you look at it. And then he goes and runs and hunts down Donald Trump so that he can show that he's a Trump supporter now. He's never, ever, ever showed that he was a Trump supporter. In fact, when he was elected in 2016, Donald Trump invited all the new Republican governors to the White House, and he had refused to go. They had to drag him kicking and screaming to get him there. But I was with him at his educational conference that weekend.
Well, I mean, when you take a look at what's happening with Governor Burgum and the direction he's going now, because remember, he's a politician now, so he'll switch on a dime. And my understanding is that after the Iowa primary, he jumped in Donald Trump's private plane and flew to New York. And my guess is, and I don't even know if that's true, if he jumped in the plane or not, because I heard that it was reported in the news, but is that this carbon pipeline is that important. Now, Dustin Goverlow with the North Dakota Watchdog Network and North Dakota Energy Council has done a really good job of following a lot of this pipeline stuff. And he pontificated that the carbon pipeline is a blueprint and a test zone so billionaires can get billions of dollars in subsidies. And Steve, I think he's right on that. And I think that's Burgum's assignment, is to make sure that this carbon pipeline goes through.
There's a lot at play. And, Charles, and he's said all along that he's not interested in the cabinet post, but for getting that agenda through, and you take a look at that globalist agenda that he's part of, and he's built that model in North Dakota already. You take a look at the legislators that are afraid of the money, and he might come after me next with his pack and get me unseated. He's created that environment, his fiefdom, that globalist model right here in the state of North Dakota. And anybody that doesn't think that that's the case, you're mistaken.
Wake up, Steve. We are ground zero for the whole nation. We own our bank.
Absolutely.
We have everything that would create our own country if everything falls apart.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
The Todd Starnes Daily Update, weekday mornings at 11:30 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy, just get in line, it moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center, we're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bonkin. Jeb Williams joining us from North Dakota Game and Fish, kind of a year in review. We'll talk a little bit about some of these colder temperatures we've got coming up. Also, what's coming ahead in 2024. And we're going to talk a little bit about the late start of the ice fishing season. But year in review, so we've got all the seasons pretty much wrapped up. Pheasant season was kind of spotty this year. I didn't get out nearly as much as I wanted to because we had a litter of puppies. But everybody I talked to was kind of hit and miss. Waterfowl was good this year because of the warm weather late. That turned out really well. Deer season, people were actually concerned that it might be too warm to hang a deer. So kind of an interesting hunting season this fall.
No doubt about that, Steve. And Happy New Year, by the way, to you and all the listeners. And, I think this fall is probably a good example of a statement that, one of our staff made a number of years ago that I've never forgotten, and how right he was in talking about how in North Dakota, if you're one dimensional, if you're somebody that just enjoys pheasant hunting or just enjoys waterfowl hunting or deer hunting, that there's going to be lots of ebbs and flows, right? But if you're somebody that appreciates the outdoor opportunities in a more holistic perspective, whether it's catching pike on Lake Wahi or any of our other lakes, and having the opportunity to go out and chase coyotes, you're always going to have something that's on the upper end. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. From a deer perspective, obviously there's people out there that I think we're hoping they'd like to see more deer hunting opportunities. So would we as a department. But, you have to manage through the low number years as well. And that means, reducing opportunities, reducing tags, those types of things. And, but, talking about pheasants, that there's no doubt that some areas we had some really good pheasant numbers, and a lot of cases,
a lot of places you
surprisingly.
didn't think about, though.
No,
places that were like, wait a minute, I haven't hunted there because there haven't been pheasants there for a long time, and there's good bird numbers there.
Yeah, and so and then
Southwest a little soft.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think that's has been shifting the last number of years. There's been, pretty significant habitat changes, in the Southwest. You go back 10 to 15 years, and that was where we had an awful lot of CRP in the state. And obviously a part of the state, when you have those type of habitat conditions, you can produce a lot of pheasants in a short amount of time. Or now that trend has kind of gone away a little bit. And so some of the other parts of the state are actually doing better when it comes to pheasant hunting, more so than the Southwest. But there's still opportunities down there. We know that. And one of the things that was nice about this fall, though, is that people actually did have the entire fall to hunt. Last year we had the early November snow that arrived and never left.
And I'm typically a late season guy. I don't get out until after Thanksgiving because I like frozen slough bottoms, and I'm a slough bottom guy.
Exactly.
I didn't get to hunt them again this year either.
Yeah.
So they were open.
So that was a big difference. And anytime you have that, that just extends the opportunity out there. People enjoy that. It's late season hunting is, you maybe don't have the crowds. You just, there's lots of different things. All the row crops, are usually down. And so, there's some additional opportunity that's provided. And this fall was definitely that case compared to last year. And people certainly, missed that opportunity last year.
A lot of bird numbers up, though, when you start talking about sharp-tailed grouse and Hungarian partridge. The resurgence for Huns has been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, and that's been a trend the last couple of years too. But I think we're going to even see. Well, we definitely will see. I was going to say I think we're going to see it, but we will definitely see additional harvests this year associated with our Hungarian partridge, simply because of the number one, the numbers, but then again the extended fall, the extending hunting opportunity that people had when they're out specifically pheasant hunting, but of course bumping a couple coveys of partridge.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, in places that
kind of gets you a little jazz.
Well, it's fun,
and you're
right?
Like, sharps. I just saw sharps.
Yeah,
I just saw Huns.
Exactly.
That mixed bag.
Yeah.
That's part of being in the outdoors in North Dakota. You wind up getting that opportunity for those mixed bags.
Yeah, and it depends on kind of what generation you are, but there are a lot of folks that remember only going out and 4 sharp tails or 4 partridge,
right.
And then maybe an occasional pheasant type scenario, but now that's switched quite a bit, and so now, but it is having that opportunity at all 3 species when you're out there hunting is, meaningful.
The fourth fun species, we don't talk about it very much because we have specific areas in the state, ruffed grouse. And I grew up ruffed grouse hunting. Grand Forks, I'd run up to the Pembina Gorge and do quite a bit of ruffed grouse hunting. Cyclical, though,
Sure.
that 10-year cycle with roughies. What were those numbers like this year?
Yeah, our ruffed grouse numbers in North Dakota, like you said, are cyclical, but, being the area that they're in and the, a pretty specific area. We don't have, certainly what we would say is abundant ruffed grouse numbers, and but there are years certainly where they're better than others, and for folks up there that or that want to, go seek that opportunity, it is there. Some years is just going to be a little better or, a little worse than others, but there is those opportunities up there. And we get a lot of folks, that do enjoy that. And, that quick hitting opportunity, walking those trails in the, in the Turtle Mountain areas, those different types of things. And then having that kind of quick hitting opportunity with rough grouse opportunity is definitely something different that, especially coming from a prairie landscape, prairie opportunity in the majority portions of North Dakota. So definitely a different, unique perspective for folks that like the grouse species.
We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. A little update of what last season looked like, a wrap-up on the year, and we're going to get into what the coming year, 2024, is going to look like. And there's some dates that are coming up rather quickly you need to know about. This is Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken. We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. Year in review from last hunting season. We talked upland game. We're going to get into waterfowl here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to finish up on the big three. Of course, we talked a little bit about deer, but moose and elk and bighorn, always fan favorites, partly because the license is so hard to get. I mean, although it seems like I know people that put in for 30-some years and haven't gotten that once-in-a-lifetime draw yet, and they'll have a spouse or somebody who puts in for the first time, and boom. It's funny how that works.
Luck of the draw. Luck of the draw, right? It's a true lottery, and so, everybody has the same opportunity. And one of the things that, I always... people that hear this and have heard me talk about this before, they probably roll their eyes because they know I always like to talk about this. But if a person does want to significantly increase your odds of success, you need to put in for a cow elk or a cow moose. That, it literally turns into a coin flip, and sometimes even more odds in your favor of drawing than not drawing. And now I totally get it and understand it that everybody wants to shoot a bull moose or a bull elk in North Dakota,
well,
right?
Especially when you've got bull elk in North Dakota that are world record class bull elk.
But it's just one of those things that, like I said, I totally understand everybody, and myself included, would love to shoot a bull elk or bull moose in North Dakota, but the odds are just not in your favor of ever drawing that license.
See, I do that all the time, and I used to go to Colorado elk hunting all the time, and I would put in for my preference points for a couple of trophy zones that I like to hunt in, and if I wasn't going for those trophy zones just to accrue points, I was putting in for a cow. Herd cows are bigger, and the meat's a little better, I think. But I wanted the elk every year. Yeah. If you're looking for, it's about getting in the outdoors and the thrill of that hunt, whether it's got horns or not. But if you want to do the hunt, put in for that cow. Moose, we have got such an incredible moose population in North Dakota that I don't think people to the eastern part of the state really understand the numbers of moose. We may have more moose than Minnesota right now after they had that little disease run through. We got a lot of moose.
Yeah, the north central and northwest part of North Dakota has over the last several years now, our moose numbers have really filled into that area more so than the traditional northeast portion of North Dakota, and our numbers have been doing good. We have been putting a fair amount of pressure on them the last number of years, just due to some landowner concerns, landowner tolerance, that type of thing, and with moose, it's quite a bit different too, right? I mean, as a department, when we issue a moose license, we pretty much count that license is going to be harvested. It's a very high success rate. Moose is certainly bighorn sheep. They're definitely our highest success rates, and so we know that in North Dakota, obviously, you have that ability to remove moose off the landscape in a short amount of time if that's your goal. And like everything we do in North Dakota, there's a lot that depends on landowner tolerance, and we know that for the most part, landowners are pretty good, pretty accepting of moose, but, they are a big animal. They can, get to be a pain here and there with some fences, that type of thing. And so,
they have no predators in North Dakota. That's why they can sit there and get big.
Yeah.
One of the things I always look at with a healthy population of any of the large animals, when you start seeing triplets with deer, it's a healthy population. When you start seeing triplets in moose, they have a healthy population. I'll run into moose out pheasant hunting, and more often than not, it's triplets over twins, and I never see a single. It's just, that means there's a healthy population out there.
Yeah. There's no doubt we're pretty blessed with the healthy moose population. Again for what North Dakota has for our habitat base, and then getting into just some of the neat success stories out there. As a department, we don't get into the record book type stuff, Steve. I mean, we all look at, somebody that gets a moose license. I mean,
But take that hat off, and now you're an avid outdoorsman, Jeb, and you kind of look at that, right?
Well, for sure. Everybody has an interest in that, and there are some neat success stories with that where people have taken some real magnificent animals, and this year was no exception with that.
It was a good year this year.
It was, definitely a good year. Some really exceptional moose and elk taken in North Dakota, and we've really been working to, there's especially like with elk, elk traditionally kind of western part of the state, over the last number of years, in the Standing Rock area, we've worked with Standing Rock Sioux tribe and number of landowners in that area with an elk population down there. Well, then now in the northeast part of the state, Turtle Mountains, Pembina Gorge. I mean, obviously there's always been some elk in that area, but really expanding up in that area as well. And so really been working with a lot of folks up there and trying to get some additional hunting access for hunters that draw those once-in-a-lifetime licenses, while also trying to assist those landowners that are experiencing maybe some higher populations within the localized area. So, but the result of that population growth has been, some really magnificent, mature bull elk. And you also have the Canadian border up there, which challenges things, and Provincial Park right across the border where there's no hunting allowed. And so those elk are certainly growing on that side of the border, but then not recognizing a international boundary. They come and go across the border just as you would expect they would. And so that creates some challenges for us.
I do deer hunting down on the South Dakota border down in southwestern North Dakota. And, they know the border. Yeah. They also know the calendar as well. So, because South Dakota's a little later than North Dakota. They know. Yeah. Bighorn.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about our bighorn sheep population right now. We're about a record high when it comes to that, and some really nice mature rams, which of course is the goal, to remove those nice mature rams out of the population, and that's where the licenses go to. And so this last year we had a total of 6 licenses, and all nice, really nice mature rams that were taken during the hunting season. And we're getting closer to. I did a presentation here the other day with a state tribal relations committee that the legislature puts on. Of course, in the interim, and they met in Newtown, and with MHA sponsoring that meeting, and had the opportunity to talk and acknowledge and thank the partnership we had with MHA as far as reintroducing bighorn sheep back, to MHA Nation lands in 2020. And so those numbers are doing phenomenal. The reproduction and recruitment of the bighorn sheep numbers. We started with approximately 30 bighorn sheep that were brought from Rocky Boy Indian Reservation, just west of Havre, Montana. Nice partnership with them too to bring those into North Dakota. And so what started about 30, now we're, getting close to 85 to 90 total sheep in that area. So again, reproduction has been really good. Recruitment has been, really good, not only seeing that reproduction, but making sure they stay within that population. And so that's the key, obviously, to the population growth, and just a phenomenal resource for people to be able to view. We get so many comments and pictures sent to us from people fishing Lake Sakakawea and seeing the bighorn sheep on the steep bluffs, cool. and while they're fishing. And so they're just a critter that people really enjoy seeing. And
so with such a limited population, trying to grow that population in limited licenses, how much of a facilitator does Game and Fish act as? Because, there's certain animals you want culled out. I mean, do you work with the hunting parties to manage that and go, we need that older that older ram gone, or is it just okay? Here's your license, go out and hunt.
Very closely, work very closely with each one of them, because again, we feel good about the population that we have, but if somebody just blindly draws a bighorn sheep license, I mean, it's still a little bit of a needle in a haystack, right? And so, number one, you're wanting to work with them, let them know, where these sheep are spending a lot of time. We're not taking and pinpointing, saying, hey, shoot this one, that type of thing. But
please take the big one.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, that, that is the goal of it, is that, you try to educate people the best possible, saying, hey, the mature rams are the ones that we want to remove from the population. Now, it's not a exact requirement. Nobody's going to get a ticket if they don't, but yet, 99% of the time people do. But
that's the management side of it.
So. Yeah, exactly.
Working with the hunters and North Dakota Game and Fish Executive Director Jeb Williams. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
In Talk lineup is on Super Talk 1270. Check out the program schedule at supertalk1270.com and on the free Super Talk 1270 app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bynum, along with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Executive Director. And, we had a pretty good fishing season this last year, open water fishing. We're going to get to ice here in just a little bit. But, wow. I didn't need bait. You just threw the hook in, and you wound up with a really nice walleye.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Steve, backing up too. I mean, you go back 3, 4, 5, even beyond that, and it seemed like every year you're kind of saying to yourself, you're like, gosh, can it get better? Well, it has. It has continued to get better and better, and what we're seeing in some of our data, of course, it's collected throughout the open water fishing season, is that it's going to go down on record as the best walleye season in North Dakota open water fishing season.
And some big fish came out too.
I mean, just the abundance of fish, and of course we always talk about our big three. We talked about our big three hunting wise a little bit ago, but the big three lakes, North Dakota, Devil's Lake, Oahe, and Sakakawea, obviously put out a lot of that. But our prairie lakes, from all corners of the state, have been very, very productive these last number of years, too.
There's a lot of little honey holes around North Dakota that people don't go, whoa, wait a minute, there's some nice fish in here.
Yeah, and it's so nice just due to the fact that, one of the things that majority people anyway, that like so much when they like to go out fishing, they like, obviously, the space, right? They don't like crowds. They don't like long lines, those types of things. So anytime we can have more opportunity like we had, like, say, in 2023 and even past that, it just spreads people out, right?
Well, and the opportunities at the prairie lakes, because you used to think about that little slough bottom that turned into a lake that, there's some pretty good pan fishing in there, or perch fishing. And those opportunities have expanded because now they're a good walleye lake or a good northern lake, good bass lake. The opportunities from what do I want to go fish for today? They're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a person doesn't have to look very far. And that's I always say this too, is it's so nice, as a kid that grew up in Beach, North Dakota, where Lake Sakakawea was not right in my backyard, but fishing opportunities are still really,
you might have been a little closer to Fort Peck.
Yeah, for sure. And so, but the fishing opportunities are just important to, a kid growing up there, as they are, that if you grew up in Garrison, you just have a little better opportunity if you grew up in Garrison, as far as that, the big lake experience goes. But so it's just nice being able to see the opportunities given to the public all across the state with these smaller prairie lakes where you don't have to travel as far, to some of those bigger destinations.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the big three, and actually I'll say 3.5, because we'll come back to the Missouri River here. But Devil's Lake was big producer, winter ice fishing, walleye in the summer, great lake. Sakakawea has kind of blown it out of the water.
Yeah, it has. And we saw that too. I mean, a lot of people asking a lot of questions. Obviously, there's lots of forage fish in there. That's a good thing. Anytime, you're looking at, you're looking at growing that population, having good, healthy fish, that's super important. Obviously, water levels. We've been blessed with good water levels the last couple of years when we were actually, kind of concerned not too many years ago about the direction of Lakes Kakawea water levels. And so we've been blessed, with some good spring rains and snows in Montana that have really contributed to filling up Lakes Kakawea and then being able to maintain that elevation level as well. So super important, when it comes to that fishery and obviously the sustainability of that lake and reproduction of, the game species, but then also, again, the forage fish, those types of things.
So with what we're at right now with this winter and not a whole lot of snow, we had a lot of saturation, a lot of moisture in the soil, that rain event that we had here. You didn't get that a little further to the west. Montana's been fairly dry in eastern Montana. Are there concerns from Game and Fish about some of those water levels coming up this spring?
I wouldn't say concerns. I mean, we went into, this winter in better condition as far as that lake elevation goes. So we're situated just a little bit better if we do get into a scenario where we don't get a lot of runoff from Montana. Now, obviously, it would be sure be nice if we would get some good runoff from Montana, and hopefully that winter snowpack picks up a little bit for any of the ski, folks that out there that like skiing, they'd like that as well. But then, again, just from our lake standpoint, we sure hope that picks up a little bit in some of those areas too.
Oahe also great fishery this last summer.
Yeah.
You guys work, of course, with South Dakota Game and Fish, managing that as we share that resource. One of the things that popped up in Oahe, though, that is a little concerning, zebra mussels.
Yeah, no doubt. And, not only the fact that, zebra mussels, but adult zebra mussels, so that tells you that they've probably been there a while. Now, the good news is that, it's a ways away from our border and, of course, downstream from us. So that's obviously good news. But, one of the things that's, unfortunately that we know about zebra mussels is that usually the way they move is by people, right? When it comes to that type of scenario, we know there's a lot of activity of people, coming and going, North Dakota, South Dakota, fishing Lake Oahe, both on our side and South Dakota side, and then, coming back into different parts and different areas. And so just the continued message of making sure that, your boat, you're clean, drain, and dry, right?
Well, it's not just the boat, though.
Yeah.
It's ice fishing.
Yeah.
Because people that are ice fishing, you pick up and go drag the equipment from one to the other, and if you got a little foliage you might have picked up out of your hole and you pop over to another body of water, you have to be diligent year-round when it comes to zebra mussels.
Yeah,
it's not just summer.
That's a good point, Steve. I think there's no doubt that the risk is less, in the winter months, just because of, you have much more control over the situation as far as that, the hole that you're ice fishing in front of versus, say, a boat type scenario that, a lot of times, even if you're doing everything correct, even in a boat scenario or a dock scenario, that type of thing, that, sometimes they can find those little hiding spots. But yeah, there's no doubt that people just, we need to continue to have that education out there to protect our bodies of water the best we can against, zebra mussels.
I'm going to go back to the half now, Missouri River. And I don't think I've ever seen boats this late this year. A couple of weeks ago, I counted 12 boats from the Memorial Bridge on the river. And wow. And they were hammering them.
Yeah.
It had been a great fall. As long as that weather held, it was a great fall on the Missouri River.
Yeah. Yeah. A person always kind of wonders, and I visited with a couple of them that I knew that were out there, and I, just kind of teasing them a little bit, just wondering,
you weren't one of them?
Is it? No, my boat's in storage, so I didn't even have any opportunity.
I talked to people that were pounding them off the bank.
Yeah.
It was crazy this fall.
And I was just curious, though, is it the uniqueness of the experience, or are people doing really well fishing. And I think it was both. I mean, people were really catching good fish, but, too, just the uniqueness of being able to say you're on the
fishing
river.
in Bismarck at the end of December. It was a crazy year for that.
Yeah.
But the fish numbers were there.
They were, people were really catching some nice fish. I saw some pictures and talked to a guy down at Pony Express, and he was showing me some of the fish he was catching, and so it was nice. But, I was asking, kind of asking some of those guys too, do you ever get kind of nervous about the ramp, a little bit, freezing up a little bit just throughout, but our days were so nice that, obviously if it was super early in the morning or, late in the day after, people pulling boats out and then the ramp maybe getting a little slick towards the end of the day. But I could see myself getting into a bad situation with, jackknifing my boat and my pickup sliding down the ramp. And but I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that. But
well, that's what those steel grates on the boat ramps are for.
Well, I don't know. Some have them, some don't. So, yeah.
So getting into some of the ice fishing, because now we're transitioning with the colder weather. We're finally getting into some ice fishing. It's still extremely dangerous ice conditions out there.
Yeah, I think, certainly with the conditions we're getting into now, we're building some pretty good ice. But, just like we were just talking about, I mean, people open water fishing here in January in North Dakota. And, anybody that was, pheasant hunting up until the last weekend of the season and, first weekend in January, still, breaking through in different parts of the state, walking sloughs, that type of thing. I mean, that's just doesn't normally happen. And so, but definitely this stretch now, we're going to build a lot of ice, and it's going to be good ice, and we don't have any snow on top of it, that type of thing as far as insulation wise. So there's going to be some good ice that's built, but we're not starting this in middle of January with a tremendous ice base. So people still need to be, I think, educate themselves on what those conditions are.
Just going back to the open water real quickly, though. So pretty good opportunity to catch a new state record walleye in Bismarck Mandan coming up next spring.
Well, I think where we're at in our fisheries scenario, I think that opportunity exists every spring now.
Might be out there, folks.
Yeah.
We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. We're going to talk ice fishing when we come back from the break. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Buying along with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director. And, I want to finish up a little bit on some of the ice right now, ice conditions. Because of the warm weather we've had, may look okay, but don't trust it. Really don't trust it right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start it, Steve.
Bring your safety stuff with you.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things we just, considering we're mid-January now, or close to anyway, it's...
this is a discussion we usually have in November.
Right. We're just not in normal conditions, and, we're definitely going to be building some ice with the colder temperatures now, but up to this point, there's been areas where, you have maybe 6-7 inches of ice, and, and like you pointed out earlier, too, we've just been getting... so much melting and, then building a little bit of ice, but then melting again, and so it's just, there's just been a lot of inconsistency. And so, where people are going to be venturing out a little bit more now, moving forward, the ice is definitely going to be building some, but I think just an extra reminder out there is always a good thing especially when we're in a year like this.
Safety first, bring your safety equipment, let people know where you're going, what time you're going to be back, all of that good safety protocol. I want to get into 2024 opening dates. You've got some dates coming up. Spring Turkey, of course, that's the first one on the docket.
It is, yeah. We, the Spring Turkey Proclamation has been submitted to the governor, and the recommendation is to increase on the number of licenses, and so that'll be coming out here fairly soon. But you're right, that's the first one, and we hope to have those the application online here right around the 18th, 19th of January, somewhere around there, and then after that, some of the season, the tentative opening dates for that is April 13th, and then of course our opening dates that we have put forward for our 2024 season, all on our website. But deer and deer bow season August 30th, and dove, the standard September 1st, youth deer September 13th, and then after that we have just a kind of a march of our upland upland game seasons, which open up every consecutive weekend, and waterfall season. So September, October, there pretty much have every weekend. There's an opening season going on. So anybody interested in our tentative open dates, just jump on our website and check it out, and make sure to get it marked on your calendar.
One of the things with the website, you guys have really done a really good job with the electronic postings of things. That information has been phenomenal, the mapping and everything. Fill us in a little bit about where that program is.
Yeah, so it's continues to grow. We've seen growth every year. There's approximately, this year was right around 9 million acres posted electronically. To me, the most important stat that is really important to point out is that landowners that are signing up electronically, posting their property, of course, by law, they don't have to put a phone number on that, but there is an option to do that. And this year, 58% of those individuals did put a phone number on there, which hunters really, really appreciate. And, if you can have that connectivity there, if somebody's willing to put their phone number out there, that generally means that they're probably at least willing to give you, at least willing to visit with you, and might not work out for that particular weekend, but, who knows, it might be another weekend. So again, just increasing the communication between those two parties is key. And, with lots of opportunities to continue to make electronic posting better. And I think there's ways that we can continue to do that. But, so far, I think everybody's been fairly comfortable with the electronic posting system.
Bottom line, it comes back to landowner relations. Get out there and be a good steward of the land. The landowner is the farmer, the rancher, very good stewards of the land. As a hunter, being able to utilize those opportunities, be very grateful for that as well. But the phone number piece is, I find that the best part, because I was a little sad when phone numbers didn't have to be on the posted signs anymore. And it made it a little harder to keep up some of those relationships or build those relationships. But that's really the key to hunting opportunities here in North Dakota.
Well, it is, and again, a person has some options in North Dakota. I mean, there is some public land in North Dakota, whether it be true public land or whether it be our plots program or private land open to sportsmen. But the majority of the landscape in North Dakota is privately owned, and if a person is going to have the hunting experience and opportunities in North Dakota, you're going to need to form those relationships with private landowners to really expand that base. That's the majority of the land in North Dakota.
And those hunting opportunities really starts with the kids. So take a kid hunting, take a kid fishing, but that starts with hunter education classes. And you guys are always looking for instructors. We are, yeah. And anytime if there's somebody interested in becoming a hunter ed instructor, really encourage them to contact us and talk to them. It's a mentor program as well, to where they can learn under an existing hunter ed instructor and become comfortable with the instruction part and the class, all those types of things. And just a very rewarding program, for those individuals that like to volunteer and like to volunteer with something they feel very passionate about. And that's, of course, instructing our future hunters about the right and wrong ways of going about your business. And this is really the time of the year where you need to be thinking about that, whether you've got a youngster that's getting into hunting. What are the criteria? You have to be 12 years old.
Correct.
And then you got to get the kids into those classes, because those classes sometimes are a little bit full.
Yeah. So there's a couple key things on that, is that, there are opportunities for people to sign up for our text alerts when classes become available, because they do fill up fast. But this is the time of year when you need to be looking into that. And so if your child is turning 12 during the calendar year, they are eligible then, for a class. So if they're 11 right now, but are, turning 12 in November, they can get into a class, right now. And so be looking for that. If your child does need hunter education and you want to get them through that, now's the time to start looking. We have all of our courses offered on our website, under online classes and opportunities there. But then you can also get some text alerts to become aware of the classes.
ND Game and Fish, ndgf.gov for all things. Jeb, thanks for joining us this morning. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Have a great weekend. Bobcats tonight on Super Talk 1270.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.